Hi, friends. Today we are going to focus on point of view in the story. Who is telling the story? And our objective is to be able to determine what point of view each story is told in and how this impacts our experience of the story as a reader. So, one of the first things we want to do when we're reading is figuring out the point of view. Who is telling the story? Because sometimes the reader hears a story through the voice of one character, and then everything is shaped by that character's perspective of events in the story. And other times, the reader gets a wider point of view, and we can see scenes that the main character isn't in it. In other words, point of view can have a big impact on how we experience the story as a reader. So, a quick review on point of view types. First person is when the narrator tells the story from his or her perspective and is also a character in the story. And you will always see the pronouns I and am and we in that kind of a story, that point of view. In second person point of view, you're going to see the pronouns you and your. And this is when the narrator can be a character in the story, but talks directly to the reader. It gives kind of a conversational feel to the story. And although it is very rare, we are reading a story that is from second point of view. Now, third person. Third person will always be he or she. But if it is third person objective, the narrator is not a character in the story, but shares all the actions, no thoughts or feelings of the characters in the story. So that is important to remember. All the actions, no thoughts or feelings. Now, third person limited, also again, you will see he or she pronouns, and the narrator will not be a character in the story, but you're only going to get one character's thoughts and feelings. But you'll get the reactions of all, but you'll only get the thoughts and feelings of one of the characters. Then we have third person omniscient. And third person omniscient, the character, the reader gets all the thoughts and feelings and motives and actions of all the characters in the story. This is where we experience the most of a story in regards to the thoughts and feelings of the characters, because it is like we know everything that is going on. Now, the why is this important? Because we have to consider this, how the point of view impacts the reading experience. And here are some ways that it does. If, for example, readers tend to feel more emotionally connected to the narrator if it's told from first person. The reader may even get surprised along the way with the narrator if it's first person. And something, depending on what point of view it is, readers can either agree or disagree with characters in the story. Now, if it's second person, you're going to get that conversational feel. Um, Determines what the reader knows and sees. So, point of view can really determine how much information we get about what's going on in the story and what we're actually able to see. Also, point of view, the reader sides with the perspective of a narrator in first person, or maybe a protagonist in third person limited point of view. The reader tends to lack understanding of characters' motives if it's third person objective. And also, third person objectives allows for a lot of action, but also a lot of mystery, because you really have to infer what the characters are thinking or feeling. And then the narrator's point of view can also influence the reader's understanding of setting, events, conflicts, especially if it's first person. And the reader may know more than the protagonist, and that's if it's third person omniscient. So when you're reading a story, you really are impacted a lot depending on the author's choice of the point of view. So, how are we going to examine and analyze this a little bit further? We're going to take this a little bit point of view a little bit further. Instead of just telling me who's telling the story and what point of view, I want you to think about how is the reader impacted by the point of view. So here is my example from How to Transform You at the Podium. So who seems to be telling the story? Well, the protagonist seems to be telling the story, although they don't give us his name, and he is talking to me as the reader. How does this impact, or what is the point of view? Well, the point of view is second person because it's told through you or your. And how does this impact me as a reader? Well, it feels like the author is speaking directly to someone who's recalling a childhood experience with the author as an adult and me as a teenager. Two, the reader might not know what the dad is feeling and thinking about his son's basketball talent. Also, it draws the reader into the story and makes them feel much more connected to the narrator because it feels like there's a conversation going on. So those are 2 to 3 ways that I feel like I am impacted or the reader is impacted when they are reading the story, How to Transform, blah, 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 You at the Podium. Now it's your turn. You're going to take the handout from the Rice and Beans of Isaiah Dunn, and you're going to do the same thing I just did. You have the example that I just showed you. You can click here for that. But you're going to tell me who seems to be telling the story, what is the point of view, and what pronouns give this away. Then I want you to tell me how is the reader impacted. I want you to give me 2 to 3 ways that the reader is impacted. That the reader's experience is impacted. And you can use this chart below to kind of get your thoughts together. Okay? Next, I want you to think even deeper. And I want you to answer this question. How would the story be different if it were another point of view? And then explain why you believe the author chose the point of view for this text. If you have any questions, you know you can email or talk to me about them in person.